Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Your Message Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the subtle art of letting go. So there is one theme that has been very prominent in my mind. I really feel like God has been pushing into me continually, time after time for the past several years, and that is the idea of letting go, the idea of having open hands and being willing to not only receive whatever He desires to bring into my life, but also to let go of any of those things and be willing to let things leave my life if that's what He asks. I feel like this is something that He has been pushing into me over and over, and He hasn't particularly asked for me to let anything in particular go yet, nor have I felt like He's really pushed anything into my life that I've had to really accept coming in. But I do have a feeling that this is more of a preparation type thing. Like He keeps bringing this up to me, like, let go, open hands, so that I can be prepared for what might be coming in the future. And I want to make a quick episode just to chat about this, because I feel like this is something that not only it can struggle with at times, but I feel others as well. And, if you're someone who's listening to this and you think, I struggle with that, I have a tendency to hold on to things very tightly, I'm afraid to let certain things go in my life or to accept change in some areas, then this might be a really good episode for you to listen to. As usual, I make episodes and I make blog posts and I write Instagram captions about things that I myself am particularly going through and dealing with and kind of letting ruminate. So I am not making this episode from a stance of, I've got this all figured out. I'm a pro at letting things go. I'm a pro at having open hands to God. That's not the case at all. I am someone who is learning, who is growing, and who is striving to be better and do better. So just know that that is my heart behind this episode. It's going to probably be a fairly quick one, but I just want to share my thoughts on this because I feel like it's very applicable, and it may be helpful to you if you find that you are someone in a similar boat and mindset to me. So without waiting any longer, let's dive into this episode. Hi friend, and welcome to the Message Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Graham, a wedding photographer and lifestyle blogger who just launched my own magazine, Your Message Mag. I'm determined to help women just like you lean into the messes of their lives and find the message they have to share. Here we believe that secrecy helps no one, but transparency and vulnerability have the potential to help many. Get ready for some encouragement, to be inspired, and to be given all the tools you need to share the unique message you have to share with those who need to hear it most. This is the Message Podcast. Do you know what your love language is? My love language is definitely gift giving. I love giving gifts, and my favorite way to give gifts is purchasing gifts through Artifact Uprising, an online printing company where you can create customized gifts for those that you love. Throughout the whole year being a new mom, I've had parents and in-laws asking for their gifts to be photos of Beckley, and Artifact Uprising makes that super simple. Plus, for my dad on Father's Day, since it was his first Father's Day as a grandpa, I created a personalized board book full of pictures of him and Beckley straight off of my phone. Nothing fancy, guys. And Artifact Uprising makes it super simple to upload those photos, add them to a book template, and then print it, order it, and so it's ready to go to give to the ones that you love. I have a lot of friends ask me where I recommend getting photo books or printing, and if you're looking to do it yourself, the DIY method, then Artifact Uprising is always the place that I recommend. This is even the place where I go to purchase gifts that I get for my couples. Go to katielaurengraham.com/artifactuprising for $20 off your first order. Again, that is katielaurengraham.com/artifactuprising for $20 off your first order. You can also click the link in my show notes. So the other week, I was going through Beckley's baby clothes, and I like to keep her room fairly streamlined, not have too much stuff in there, and particularly things that we aren't using or using anymore and won't be using again. I like to get out of that room just to clear up space for new things, to not have it be too cluttered. And I was going through her baby clothes, and she is now, she's 11 and a half months at this point, but she's wearing 18-month to 24-month clothes. Like, she's a giant little almost toddler. She's insanely big. And she's just very tall, guys. I have such a tall baby. This is off subject, but I have 3 tall sisters. Okay, I have 2 tall sisters and 1 sister is the same height as me. But I have 2 tall sisters. I have a tall mom. I have a tall uncle. I have a tall grandpa. Like, height runs in a specific portion of my family. And I feel like that height gene went into me, but I was not blessed with it. I was just a carrier, and I have now passed that height gene onto my daughter, and it is growing in her. Anyways, that basically means that she is just growing out of clothes at a very rapid rate. Also, if you hear background noise, it is because I am hiding in my bedroom. The dogs are currently having the time of their lives, playing tug of war and chasing bottles down the hall. So if you hear background noise, it's them. There's no escaping them. I have a golden doodle and a Bernedoodle, and the Bernedoodle is a puppy. And so, as you know, with puppies, there's no telling when they're going to be playing or sleeping or whatever. So please bear with me with the background noise if you can hear it. So I was going through Beckley's clothes, and there's so many clothes that she is no longer going to be wearing. And now, my mindset was, we don't need these anymore, or at least we definitely don't need a majority of them. Maybe some of them I'll save just in case we have another daughter someday, but we definitely don't need all these clothes. Like, some of them Beckley didn't even wear. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sell them and see if maybe I can make some money off them, see if somebody else could perhaps use them. And so I listed them into a mom's group that I'm a part of on Facebook. I listed it for sale, and I remember praying. I was like, Lord, would you sell what needs to be sold and what could really help someone, but leave what perhaps would be better if it stayed. You control the sales process here. Sell what needs to be sold, keep what needs to stay. And he ended up selling about 2/3 of what I listed. And I was very, very happy with that. I made some good extra money. Yeah, it was a very productive afternoon. But I shared it outside of the Facebook group. I shared those posts to just my normal feed just to see if there was anybody else who might be interested who wasn't a part of that mom's Facebook group. And I had several people. I ended up deleting the post because I just didn't want to, I didn't want to have to answer the questions anymore. But I had several people comment and say things like, well, but you might have another kid. Why wouldn't you hang on to those? Well, but you might have, Beckley might have a younger sister someday. Why wouldn't you hang on to those? Or you should hang on to those. You might need them someday. And that, for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, I know exactly why. Those statements and those comments really struck a chord inside me for several specific reasons. And I won't go into all of them, but one specific one was there was this undertone in all of those comments of, you are leaving yourself vulnerable by not hanging on to these items. If you have another child, you will not be prepared. You will have to spend more money, and this is irresponsible. Why would you be selling these and putting yourself in this vulnerable position? You should hold on to those items. And obviously, nobody actually commented that, but you can read between the lines, you can hear the tone, and it was commented enough by multiple different people in such a similar fashion that you got the idea that that was the subliminal message that they were believing and just not actually typing onto the keyboard. And that really struck me. And this is a very simple example of the idea of letting go. So the reason that God wants us to let go of things and have open hands with things, and I'm just using baby clothes as an example, but this could be anything from like your car to your home to your job to your relationship to your children to your life. Like, you can make it as big or as small as you want it. God wants you to have open hands with every aspect of your life because he wants you to trust him. And he wants you to rely on him and trust that he's going to provide for you and help you realize that you can't find security or comfort or peace or smoothness in life through anything that you bring into your own life on your own. You can't have, like, no number of baby clothes or cars without issues or house without a roof leak. Like, none of these things can guarantee that you are going to have a comfortable, peaceful, wonderful, fulfilled life. But God can. And God is the only thing that can. And so he doesn't want us to be reliant on these things in life. He wants us to be willing to let them go, because he might bring them into your life. He might allow you to have these things, and they can be a huge blessing in your life, but they're not what's going to make your life wonderful or make sure that you have everything that you need. Like he is. And so he might ask for you to let these things go, and he wants you to have open hands so that it forces you to trust him, because he's the only one we should be trusting or relying on. So when I had all these comments, and it was this subliminal message of you're leaving yourself vulnerable and unprepared if you have another child by selling these things, you should be holding on to them, it made me think, well, what the heck? No, that's not the case at all. If Jackson and I have another daughter someday, or a son someday, another child, God will make sure that we have everything we need. It does not, like it point blank, everything that we need to have that baby be safe and secure, God will make sure, like it says in the Bible, if he cares about the sparrows, he cares about the flowers, and he makes sure they have everything they need, then how much more so will he care for us, his own children? If he makes sure that the birds have their food and the flowers are clothed in beauty, he will make sure that we even more so are the same. And I don't mean clothed in beauty as in like he'll make sure we have all the top brand clothes to put our babies in so they're more trendy on Instagram. That's not the case at all. But he will make sure that they are secure and make sure that they have what they need to live a fulfilled life. And so I thought, no, I'm not leaving myself vulnerable. I'm not leaving myself in a place of unpreparedness in case we have another child, because first and foremost, I have the God of the universe at my side, making sure that I have everything I need. And by me having open hands and being willing to let go of these items that he brought into my life and blessed me with, and I am trusting him that he is going to make sure that I am cared for, and if we have a future child, that they will be cared for also. Have you ever felt like you're called to more in life? Do you desire to encourage others? Have you experienced a mess in life that you wish to share with others to help them grow and feel less alone? I created Your Message Mag for driven, encouraging, and servant-hearted people just like you. Your Message Mag is my new lifestyle magazine focused on bringing encouragement and inspiration into the lives of others through impactful storytelling and seasonal content. Each issue features guest writers with powerful, impactful stories to tell. Get ready to experience the first magazine you'll not only read cover to cover, but will also change your life. Subscribe to Your Message Mag at yourmessagemag.com. Again, go to yourmessagemag.com to get your first copy. The link is also in the show notes. The whole story of the baby clothes, it gives a tangible example of what I mean when we need to be open-handed. You might have something in your life that you feel you need to hold on to because it gives you security, or it helps you feel more prepared, or it makes you feel like you've got more control over a situation or something that could happen, or if worst case scenario happened, you have the items to get you through it. And I want you to hear me very carefully when I say this. There is nothing that you can do, or you can buy, or you can plan to fully prepare yourself for life aside from a relationship with Christ. If you have a relationship with him, you are set. You are golden. That does not mean that there won't be hardships, that there won't be trials, that there won't be pain. Not at all. Read the Bible, and God is very clear that if you follow him, you might experience more hardships than those who don't, because the world doesn't want us to follow him. But life after this brief, fleeting life is eternity, and we get it with him, not separated from him. That's what the goal is. So in this life, don't focus on holding on to things that you think are going to give you security and peace when they can't and they won't. So we have to have open hands. We have to be willing to not only receive things, but to let them go. And the baby clothes was just a very tangible example that I had happen. I think it was this past Friday, that I was selling them. And it was just one of those examples where I heard those statements that it was like they were oozing that underlying message, that subliminal message of you're leaving yourself vulnerable. And I don't ever want you to think that just by having enough money in the savings account, or by having a house that has a strong foundation, or by having a car that doesn't have any issues, or by having a secure job with a great 401k, like, I don't want you to fall into the trap of thinking that just because you might have one of those things or all of those things, or are trying to achieve one of those things someday, that you're going to be secure and safe, because that's not the case. And those things, just as quickly as they come to you, they can even more quickly leave. And you have to be willing to let those things go. And you have to be willing to not cling to them, but live life without them, and recognize that God, He's the one that's going to give you the security. He's the one that's going to give you the peace. And He's the one that's going to be able to provide you with eternal life, which is what we all should be focusing on. So I feel like that got really deep really, really quickly. But guys, this whole podcast, the point of this podcast is to encourage you to share the message that is found in your mess. And I want to do this not by just encouraging you to do so, but by living by example. And this is something that I just recently walked through, and it is something that I am currently pushing myself to do more, to be more open-handed. Because like I said, I've got a feeling that God is just, I was talking with Jackson, and he said that he felt like God was pressing the same thing onto him, and neither of us felt like God was asking us to give up anything in particular, but we both had this feeling of like, there's something coming, and I don't know when or where or what is coming, but there's something coming that He's going to ask us to give up. And it's going to be hard, probably, but my goal is that by practicing this lifestyle of having open hands, that when He does ask us to give up whatever it is or to accept whatever it is that He asks us to give up or accept, that we are willing and able, and do so joyfully. And I want to encourage you to push yourself to do the same. Be willing, be joyful, and have open hands, and embrace a life of living with that subtle art of letting go. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope that maybe you found it encouraging or helpful. Gosh, I hope that it actually made sense. I made 0 notes again for this episode and just had something I felt like I needed to say, so I sat down and said it. So I really hope it made sense. If you enjoyed this episode, then why don't you share it on Instagram? Take a screenshot of this episode, share it on Instagram, tag me at Katie Lauren Graham and at Your Message Mag, so that I can see that you listened. And if you haven't left a review yet on this podcast, please leave a review. That would make my whole day. And thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Your Message podcast. Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and leave a review if you haven't already. This really helps with encouraging the podcast apps to share this with other people to maximize our impact, so we can help as many people as possible. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram. Make sure to tag me at Katie Lauren Graham so I can share in the excitement with you. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.